lakini bakole niyo pima bale ndine ndakakeza kuteka mchikoni kumyaka 40.
Westv, tazama ilivyo.
This is the morning scoop. We're coming live on Westv, coming to you from Bungoma. This morning, dear viewer, we just want to take this opportunity to invite you to go through the conversation we have. We want to look at public service matters. You see, every county has an organization that is in charge of employing workers in that county. And I just want to take this opportunity to bring a little information about their operations and services and where it can lead to if you want to be interested. Usually we're looking at efficiency, we're looking at professionalism, and what actually motivates these workers, because at some point we get a lot more ghost workers there. How do they end up there, and why are they called ghosts and stuff like that? And all that are the things that we need to interact with this morning with my guest. The morning scoop comes to you every Tuesday morning from 9 o'clock. You can always follow us on X at WestTV_Kenya. Facebook is WestTV, and YouTube is Westv Live. You can always follow me X at Mr. Kitui or Facebook Kitui Wasimiti. Take your time and just follow the conversation this morning. On behalf of my director, Kelvin Kibet, I just want to take this opportunity and invite the guest. This is CKS. Gentlemen, Chairman.
Thank you.
You keep on refusing the name ambassador, but it will always be a tag on you. Tell us about yourself.
Well, the name ambassador is earned.
Good.
And I know many times, the first one who uses that name on me, many people have called me ambassador. But actually, I am not an ambassador, because I've never earned that title. But I happen to have worked in foreign circles, foreign missions.
Yes.
The reason why I have earned that name, I would say illegitimately.
You see, like if you put on a school uniform,
yes,
and you appeared in a school,
yes,
you'll definitely be a student.
A student too.
Yeah. So you are an ambassador.
Thank you for affording me that title. Basically, like I've said, it is earned, and until you earn it,
yeah,
using it you can easily be called an impositor.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm happy. Sometimes when that name comes up, I quickly acknowledge, because I know, of course, when you're working outside your country for your government, you're basically an ambassador for your country. Yeah.
Tell us your name.
Well, my name is Peter Wamoto.
Okay. I thought you'd tell us a little more about especially your work and where you come from.
Okay, good. My name is Peter Wamoto. Basically, I work for the Trans Nzoia County government. I'm chair of the County Public Service Board, Trans Nzoia.
It's a county government job, or it's independent?
It's a county government job. The Public Service Board is part of the institutions of the county government.
Yeah.
It is a replica of the Public Service Commission at national level. So the Constitution provided that matters employment called for a similar institution, and therefore the Constitution established the County Public Service Boards to deal with matters employment for people in counties. That was part of devolution.
Okay.
So actually we also are able to devolve the Public Service Commission to the counties.
Okay. So what really goes on there? What is happening at the county level in terms of workers and making job opportunities for people?
Now, job opportunities at the county level are basically, or rather they emanate from available opportunities that are created or that are required to service departments, government departments or county government departments. The devolution brought all these departments down to the counties. There are those that are fully devolved, there are some that are partly devolved, but the major essence is for counties to be able to function at that level, at the county level.
Yes.
And therefore there was need for institutions that provide matters employment also to be created at that level so that they can fit into the gray areas for departments whenever there is need. Yeah.
There is an element of efficiency.
Yes.
Who determines whether it's efficient or not? And what do you look at to see that service delivery is efficient?
Now, let me just begin from, I know the aspect of efficiency doesn't hang out alone.
Okay.
When we are talking about work, about productivity, or about service delivery, you can't run away from matters professionalism, matters efficiency, matters effectiveness, matters motivation. All these are facets of employment. They actually cannot miss in the employment link if you want to be a productive country, if you want to be a productive county, and if you want to deliver services to mwananchi. So maybe I would want to expound on professionalism.
Yeah.
Professionalism is basically refers to the conduct, behavior, and attitude expected of individuals in a work or business environment. It encompasses a range of qualities, characteristics, including aspects of competency, having the necessary skills and knowledge to perform a job or duties effectively. One must be competent. There is an aspect of reliability in professionalism, being dependable and consistent in fulfilling work responsibilities. That is an aspect of reliability. It falls under professionalism.
Yes.
If you have to be professional, you must be reliable. Integrity, a very key aspect in matters performance.
Yes.
Adhering to ethical standards and being honest in all professional dealings. Many times you've had particularly public servants being accused of a range of issues, including corruption. So when you lack integrity, definitely you involve yourselves in matters of corruption and the like. Respect, showing consideration and courtesy to colleagues, clients, and other stakeholders is a key aspect that comes in the area of professionalism. Accountability, communicating effectively, that's conveying information and actively listening to others, is an aspect of professionalism. Even dressing, appearance, how you just basically appear. You can imagine when you are coming to see me and seated in that big seat of the chair of the Public Service Board, and combed hair, maybe just dressed shabbily. Do I depict a picture of a professional? Definitely not. Yes, you can wear...
You are calling demands that you appear in a certain way.
Exactly. Time management.
Very important.
Managing time efficiently is one other very important aspect. Like you told me to be here by 9.
Yes.
We agreed I'd be here by 9.
Yes.
I made sure I came here 15 minutes to 9.
Which is very important.
So that we can organize ourselves.
For 9 o'clock.
For 9 o'clock. So that's what we call professionalism. And then positive attitude, demonstrating some positive and proactive approach to work. If you do not have that kind of attitude, then work will mean nothing to you. And therefore, it will not be possible for you to deliver to the expectations of Mwananchi. And you know Mwananchi these days, with the new constitution, they basically know almost everything. You can't lie around to them. Teamwork, to be able to also deliver efficiently and effectively, you must be able to bring your team together. Do one thing that you all are agreeable to. Work together, march together if you have to deliver.
Yes.
Collaborating effectively with others to achieve common goals. Because as an entity, as an organization, we have those common goals that we have basically agreed upon. And to achieve them, you can't work alone. I can't say I'm chair kwa hivyo mimi nitatembea peke yangu. It won't work. So professionalism is important because it fosters positive work environment, builds trust and respect, and it also enhances productivity and the overall success of an organization. Away from professionalism, of course, we've talked of efficiency. You can't divorce efficiency from efficient service delivery. And efficiency is just the ability to achieve the desired result with minimal wasted effort, time or resources. It also involves optimizing processes to produce the best possible outcomes with the least amount of input. So in various contexts, efficiency can also relate to energy use, time management, productivity, resource allocation. Improving efficiency often helps an organization in actually ensuring it achieves its objectives with ease. And improving efficiency also often involves analyzing workflows, eliminating unnecessary steps, implementing best practices to enhance overall performance.
There is that, because those are the ideals.
Correct.
But then there are realities.
Very, very true. Very true. Very true.
What is happening in Trans Nzoia? Because
Yes.
Trans Nzoia is metropolitan county,
Correct.
and you sitting in that chair, it means with what you've just said, what the ideals are, how is it happening on the ground? Because there are demands on your job.
Yes.
From those people in Trans Nzoia who need those jobs at the county level, and they come from large communities and small communities.
Yes.
So I just want you to tell me how you are supposed to marry, or how you are marrying the professionalism plus the pressures on the ground.
Well, you know, it begins at recruitment level. When you recruit mediocrity, you harvest mediocrity.
Okay.
So what we do as a board, of course, there are parameters. Professional jobs call for recruitment of professionals. You cannot want a doctor, and in a doctor's place, you employ a nurse. A nurse is a different profession from
A doctor's
doctor profession. So if you want a nurse, you employ a nurse. You don't employ a doctor in the place of a nurse.
But then you see, on that level,
Yes.
in a hospital setting,
Yes.
a medical officer
Yes.
is superior to a clinical officer.
True.
The service delivery by a doctor is higher. He attracts more confidence from the patient than a clinical officer. But a clinical officer makes more money for the organization.
Yes, in terms of making more money for the organization, yes, and probably no. Because let me begin by expounding on the aspect of a doctor and a nurse, like you've put it. Yes, a doctor is superior. A doctor has trained longer, has trained broadly and deeply. a nurse has specifically trained in the nursing field. Each of those, a clinical officer also has his limitations in terms of training. So in the medical field, all these officers are interdependent.
Yes.
A doctor may not be able to deliver effectively or efficiently without a nurse. There are the aspects that a nurse must be involved in tending to the patient. There's an aspect of probably a clinical officer. So they are basically all interdependent, and the level at which the patient's needs are. Because a doctor must be able to examine, diagnose, and determine what ails the patient. The nurse majorly is supporting the doctor and care of the patient.
Yes.
I think that the doctor would be probably a little subsidiary to the doctor. They have covered also if it's clinical medicine, but not to the extent that a doctor has.
But then most institutions are working on with the clinical officers. Most health centers are working with clinical officers.
Shortage, call it. Otherwise, in an ideal situation, every health facility requires a doctor.
Yes.
Requires a clinical officer.
Yes.
Requires a nurse. Requires a lab technologist. All those facets in health.
So you, as the chairman to the board,
yes,
you determine that. Then you go out to employ.
We determine the requirements of the facilities in terms of doctors, clinical officers, nurses, lab technologists. There's a range of professionals in the health setup. So we determine the requirements. After determining the requirements, we go out to engage those professionals for these facilities. Yes.
Away from the medical field, we have teachers, ECD teachers.
Correct.
And then we have TVET institutions.
Yes.
And then we have markets. You guys are managing markets and collecting a bit of cash there. So all those small, those people we look at to be small employees of the county. You also employ them, or you delegate that to be employed by someone else?
The mandate of the board is to employ, hire and fire.
Okay.
So all matters about hiring for employment within the county rests with the County Public Service Board.
Okay.
Yeah. So we determine with the departments existent. Basically, in counties, we have between 10 to 12 departments maximum. Because of the volume, unlike at national level, some are actually merged. They are run by one CC, one chief officer. So we determine, if it's agriculture, we determine requirements for agriculture. If it's trade, if it's finance, we determine the requirements. We have what we call an approved establishment. We research, you must research and determine the optimal numbers that would be able to deliver in a certain field. For example, in agriculture, you must be able to determine what you would comfortably be able to work with, what would be able to deliver to Mwananchi, the services that Mwananchi requires in the Department of Agriculture. You have to be able to determine. Having determined, you draw up what we call an approved, an establishment, a staff establishment. Once you have that staff establishment in place, that is the guiding principle, the guiding document that will determine how many doctors do I employ, how many nurses, how many agricultural officers, how many finance officers, and so forth. So that is the document we use to determine the numbers.
Then how do they earn promotions? Because there's an element of training.
Yes.
And who is in charge of training? Do you train them, or they come trained, so you just work with what you get?
You know, at recruitment stage, the job seekers are out there on the market because people have trained in various fields, different fields, various institutions, both locally, nationally, internationally. So whenever we need staff, we source from the job market.
Yes.
If we have to advertise, we need a chair of a public service board, you advertise from the market. They apply. You then, once you advertise a position that is wanting, you have commenced the recruitment process. You advertise, people apply, you run through the applications to be able to determine whether they meet the minimum requirements as carried out in the advert, and then you then go ahead to shortlist those you have confirmed meet those minimum requirements, and then from there you now proceed and select and then appoint.
Okay.
Once you have appointed, you post them now to the respective departments where they have applied for those jobs to go and commence work. But before they commence work, you see, you are getting persons who have trained. There is an engineer, yes, he has trained in that profession. But we have got public service ethos, public service ethics. How is this engineer coming to conduct himself as a public servant to be able to deliver service to mwananchi? That's where we begin with induction. The first stop of training in public service is induction.
Okay.
You induct the officer, and basically induction is about the officer understanding the new environment that they have come in, to understand what and why what they are coming to do and why they are into that service. What is expected of them as public servants and as professionals. As an engineer, you have been sourced, you have been appointed, you are now an engineer 2 or an engineer 1 or a senior engineer. What are you coming to do in the public service? So we induct them just to understand how the public service basically operates. Our expectations in terms of integrity, efficiency, effectiveness as a public servant, all those expectations. Once we've groomed them through an induction program, which is normally not very long, then you unleash the officers into the field to go and start serving mwananchi.
Then how long is this officer
Yes.
going to work before he comes back again for another training, possibly for promotion? Or when time for promotion comes, you lay this one off, then you advertise someone for a higher position?
No. We have what we call career development. Once an officer joins service, we have aspects of, we have a scheme of service, and the scheme of service defines the progression of an officer in service from the day of entry up to the day that they exit. Now, there's a level of entry depending on qualifications. So once they enter and they have gone through induction, generally, normally after a period of 2 years, the officer can be retrained, can be taken for further training, can even be sponsored for further training, including even advancing either academically or professionally. Majorly, the government encourages officers to develop in their areas of profession. So you find that maybe after 2 years of service, an officer would be eligible for training. We have various government institutions within the country, like the Kenya School of Government, which trains professionally in various areas. Quite a number of programs tailored to cut across. Then we have government institutions whereby, like engineers, doctors, they go back to those institutions to advance in their knowledge in the areas of profession after a little practice in the field. So that is there. It is provided for, and the government sponsors. You meet, there are basic requirements an officer needs to meet to register before they then are considered for such a kind of programs.
So whatever pathway one is employed in,
yes,
there is progression.
Progression is there. Training programs are enormous. You can choose which one. But what we discourage is you cannot come in as an HR and then now you want to go and train probably as a nurse, as a clinical officer. No, we will not. It has to be relevant to your program. That's what, because we want to enhance efficiency and effectiveness within those professional areas. So if we get somebody, an HR professional, we want them to pursue that line, to expand their knowledge in that field, to be able, because we are employing. We keep employing from time to time.
Yes.
As they grow up, they are the mentors of those ones who are coming in.
Yes.
So if people digress from their initial professions, how do they mentor these ones? Because they're supposed to grow both in knowledge and practice.
Yes.
And so when they remain in service and the service keeps growing, those who come later, we even have in-house training. So we expect the seniors to basically train some of the officers on the job. So training is enormous. It begins from in-house up to the outside institutions, including even sponsor students, government sponsor students even abroad, courses that may not be tenable here or not easily accessible here in foreign universities.
Yes.
Especially these very technical areas. We encourage, and the government sponsors people to go, officers to go and study out there.
What comes to mind is this specific officer.
Yes.
When you brought him in, there is that code of conduct.
Yes.
Unique to Trans-Nzoia County Public Service.
Yes.
You take through this person, then he starts delivering service to the county.
Yes.
As required by the employment requirements.
Correct.
Then along the way, this same person becomes clever.
Yes.
Yes. When guys become clever,
yes,
how do you enforce that the code of conduct is enforced? Because we are human beings, and
yes,
we are bound to be innovative,
to misbehave, to deviate from the norms.
I don't want to use those bad words. Just be clever.
Be clever. I think you're only being very kind, you know, the minute, as a public servant, we have got ethics, public service ethics. And it begins from the Constitution. Article 10, about national values, values and principles. Then we have got the public service values and principles. Article 232. Article 10 defines who a good citizen should be. Like you and me, if we are not in public service employment, the Constitution still defines what kind of citizens we ought to be. Matters of integrity are not missing in either of them.
Yes.
From the national values to the public service values. So these two articles are very, very, very important in managing the public service. And it's from those constitutional articles that we have drawn the acts of parliament, that we have drawn policies from. Like in public service, we have got the HR manuals, code of conduct, norms that a public servant must adhere to.
Yes.
So the minute one starts becoming clever, there's remedy from this, all these documents, right from the Constitution, all the way up to policy level documents. So we have defined how to deal with errant or clever public servants.
Yes.
When one becomes clever, the law is cleverer than the person.
then I think the training,
yes,
career development trainings, that's where incentives comes in.
Yes.
We want to share about those incentives that are available to the country employees.
The incentives, so we're talking about motivation. Yes, motivation, not only in public service, I would say, motivation is an aspect that basically should run throughout in every employment setup. Motivation is basically an internal or external drive that stimulates a person to act towards achieving a goal. Without motivation, sometimes we may never be interested in that goal. So it is a process that initiates, guides, and sustains goal-oriented behaviors. Motivation can also come from various sources, such as intrinsic factors, as personal satisfaction. You do something for personal satisfaction, personal gain. That is basically
fulfilled delivering that service.
Exactly. Interest or enjoyment, isn't it? And then extrinsic factors, which involves rewards, recognition, external pressures. And reward, even just telling an officer, very good, well done, makes an officer feel appreciated. That alone, just uttering the word, very good,
yes,
well done, please keep it up,
yes,
in itself
is a motivation.
It's a motivation. So all these are present. The motivational aspect is there, and it must be there, because without motivation in public service, I can imagine. And when we're talking about promotions, it's motivation. If an officer works without promotion, or knowing that there will be no promotion at all, the input would be minimal. They work towards getting to a point of exit. So if the public service, and that's where the schemes of service come in. You must work towards motivating your officers to be able to set goals for them to climb up.
Yes.
Through appraisals, performance contracting is a part of them, because you agree, the officer knows when I perform to this level, especially through performance contracting, they know what the reward is at the end. They know even the repercussions, because in both in a work situation, you have a reward and you also have punishment. Now punishment comes in for the clever ones. Reward comes in for the good ones. Those who are living within the norms will definitely get reward. And so, like I have indicated, motivation can be in many ways.
But you see, you also talk about contract.
Yes.
Performance contract.
Correct.
This employee is permanent and pensionable.
True.
The arrangement to arrive at permanent and pensionable.
Yes.
And then you, as the employer, also become clever.
Yes.
By saying performance contract.
Yes.
Are you trying to say that your position, that the way you're working, you are not performing better? So you need to get pieces of deliverables which you need to sign on for a certain period of time, regardless of whether you'll die here and we'll reward you for working for us for your life, or what is that? Because we tend to believe that permanent and pensionable employees are not supposed to work under that. The performance contracting arrangement, it has to. Previously, you must have been, or you are privy to the aspect of in the past days when you go to an office and you find a coat on the desk. Yes.
And the officer will be missing for several hours.
Yes.
By and by, the aspect of performance contracting had to creep in, because officers took advantage. One reported and went away.
Clever ones.
Clever ones. There were no timelines for specific jobs. There's work that could be accomplished in 1 hour, but it could take several weeks.
Or maybe someone keeps on delegating. I want you to do this, I want you to do this, as they also go for funerals.
That is it. So performance management contracting was like a remedy to such a kind
to address that laxity.
Yes. In supervision, they say, like you said, it's not easy to supervise a human being. We have those, we call them the Y and the X. what is it in HR? We have got those that must be supervised to deliver. They are those that understand and know and send themselves. They know they are here for a specific purpose. They came to work and they will work towards delivering on their goals. But there are those who, without being supervised, they will deliver minimally.
And you need all these people in the same organization?
Yes, and they're earning a salary. Probably we are at par.
Yes.
We are both doctors. We are both HR officers. You are dealing with this aspect, I'm dealing with this aspect. My delivery is dismal. Yours is. So performance contracting came in to at least address some of those characters, that kind of attitude, whereby we give performance targets. And once you are given a target, if it has timelines, whatever you do, you have to deliver the same within that given period for that amount of money that you earn. But majorly takes place in the upper circles. Senior levels is where that is majorly recommended.
But not lower?
Lower levels. You can still do performance contracting at the lower levels, but is majorly embraced at senior levels.
Then the two most sensitive elements.
Yes.
The first one is nepotism. County administration has been accused of employing people who are known to be people than others. I'm using very nice words.
Nepotism. You call it nepotism.
You guys are in charge of employment.
Yes.
You are not related to any CEC.
Correct.
Or any governor
CEO
or whatever.
Governor. Yes.
But then, in the end, it happens that in the office of a specific CEC, there is a line of employees who come from the same background with this CEC. How do you address that? Or how do you explain that?
Now, devolution, Mr. Kitui, as you know, is not a new phenomenon as such today, but it's basically new. Because public service in Kenya began those years.
Yes.
Over the time, like the Public Service Commission was established in 1954. The public service boards are as a result of devolution. So when we got devolution, there was some misconception in one way or another. People knew, or people thought, people assumed, sasa tumepata ugatuzi na utawala. Kwa hivyo kazi ni zetu, za watu wetu. Are you getting that?
Yes.
Such that it even overrode professionalism, it overrode integrity. It was a question of me and me. And you see, me and me, it will be me, probably my brother and my sister, first, before. Of course, my brothers and sisters alone cannot serve a county. But in the process, people thought that they will embrace brotherhood, sisterhood, as they. So at the inception of devolution, that aspect came in and it really permeated almost all circles across. And that is why that thing is there. Public service boards, after the establishment of devolved governments, the commencement of work by devolved governments, that public service boards also got established. Now, as they came in, you know, when you begin setting up anything new, you can't run away from challenges. So those are some of the challenges that were there.
Okay.
To the point that even work got politicized. An MCA would say, no, lazima watu wangu kwanza. Even governors who stood firm said watu wangu kwanza. That thing was very prevalent in the initial stages of devolution. But the public service boards, like Public Service Commission, that independence that is given to them through the acts of parliament.
Yes.
The County Governments Act provides for the independence of public service boards. Public Service Commission, the same. These independent commissions, Their creation was meant to cure that. And as a board now, those are the issues we need to address. When jobs are available, for example, here in Bungoma, Trans Nzoia, where I work,
Yes.
the recruitment of officers to come and serve in public service should be based purely on merit and in accordance with the laws as provided for in those acts or in those commission acts, which is in tandem with the Constitution. Because take, for example, Trans Nzoia. Trans Nzoia is a very cosmopolitan county. Talk of any tribe in Kenya, you'll find them in Trans Nzoia. We have Taitas, we have Kambas, we have Mijikendas, we have all tribes you can think of, from
Merus,
Kikuyus, all these tribes are. So tell me, and they are in big numbers, and some of them, you know, those were settlement schemes. Now you find a family that started in Trans Nzoia, a man who came in as a young man looking for a job, found a spouse, they started a family in Trans Nzoia. It could be of Kikuyu origin, of Kisi origin, but they know of no any other home.
That is where they call home.
And they are in huge numbers. So are you going to tell me that we will only employ Bukusus, or we'll employ Tachonis who probably went there a little earlier? No. Today,
You have to balance.
Exactly.
So that is, it's your job to use the numbers in the county
Yes.
to balance workforce.
Exactly.
Then how come
The distribution has to be equitable to also the numbers that exist in that. If it is one account with one ethnic group, and the Constitution so provides, at least 30% of the labor force you recruit, you should consider
locals?
non-locals.
Okay.
So can you tell me that a Kikuyu who was born in Trans Nzoia and is probably in the 4th generation today, a Meru or a Pokot or a Maasai is not a local?
Okay. So you go outside to get another Kikuyu who is not a Trans Nzoia Kikuyu.
Basically, ideally that should be, because if you're talking about locals,
No matter what tribe they come in,
Yes.
they fit into the 70%. It means 30% you have to outsource.
that is it.
Okay.
Yeah. It is the fairest way to go. And also the population aspect determines actually the numbers you bring in. Because for example, you have 70 or 50% of the population being Kisi, isn't it, or Kikuyu. Are you going to give them the same number like you're giving the Kambas who could be 5% or 2%?
Or my friends, the Taitas, I have a few friends, Taitas, so they are. I want us to go back to that.
Yes,
Then there is the element of ghost workers.
yes.
You see, when do they become ghost?
Ghost worker. Ghost workers has been a real issue, and you know, ghost workers.
Yeah, that. You see,
You know, ghost workers refer to employees who are on an organization's payroll, but do not actually work there. Isn't it?
yes.
I know there has been a misconception, but this is basically workers who are on an organization's payroll.
But they're not working there.
But so what does that mean? This would be as a result or would occur due to fraud, isn't it?
Yes.
That is outrightly fraud or manipulation of the deliberate manipulation of the payroll to have people on the payroll to earn money for work that they don't do.
Where does it begin? Because
Yes.
you are the employer. You have employed 20 people.
Yes,
These 20 people have profiles.
yes,
Okay? These same people are deployed to go and work.
yes,
So when the payroll is prepared,
yeah,
it is supposed to be prepared for 20 people. At the end of the day,
yes. We
there will
have,
be 20 people,
yes.
but 3 of them will be ghost. So what happened to the...
Like I said,
or you say that you will employ 20 people.
Yes.
But then the payroll will be prepared for 23.
23 people. Yeah, that's why I'm saying that such a case is just basically out of pure manipulation, fraud, and the ones you call clever employees is as a result of employees turning, or officers dealing, for example, with the payroll, or even at senior level, chief officers, even CECs, county executive committee members, mawaziri wa county.
Yes.
When you disregard the mandate of a bona fide or a legitimate institution in an organization,
Yes.
that is where it all begins. Because if the mandate of employment of public service workers rests with the Public Service Board, and you find a CEC or a chief officer has issued a letter of appointment to an employee, whereas it's the board which is supposed to. That is the manipulation. That is the cleverness we are talking about. They are not supposed to. That is, in fact, it's criminal. It would amount to criminality if you do what it. You're becoming an impositor. It's fraud. When a CEC of a department requires employees, the responsibility of determining that is vested with the chief officer, who has delegated powers from the board. So they carry out their analysis,
Yes.
get the numbers that they want, generate what we call an indent, that is to request for the numbers that they want employed for specific purposes,
Yes.
different fields in the department. Bring up with the requirements of all those officers. If you have asked for an engineer, we go to the scheme. What kind? Do you want a civil engineer? Do you want a mechanical engineer? So we will go to the scheme of service, because the schemes of service exist. They are guidelines
Yes.
that provide on what you require from those persons. So we advertise, then recruit for the department. That is what is supposed to happen. But if you find a ghost worker existent in a payroll, it is as a result of manipulation and fraud by either the staff who are dealing with the payroll or the senior officers in the department who coerce and impose workers on the system. Then if you have fraudulent employees at the payroll, they will enter those workers or in the master roll. That is why we are all going digital. In fact, we are not supposed to have any employees of the system. Should be manual master rolls, payrolls have actually been done away with. The government
So it's all digital.
is all employees are supposed to be in the system, the HR system.
Now, you put an employee
Yeah.
in the system.
Yes.
Then this employee works for 5 years.
Yes.
The same employee dies.
Correct.
That system must recognize that employee so and so is
no longer.
It's no longer.
Because it's the responsibility of the chief officer of a department, if an officer passes away, to make that report, to take necessary steps to ensure that the employing body, the Public Service Board, is also aware of such a happening, so that the officer is removed from the payroll. That then creates a vacancy in the system.
But then you see,
Yes.
the officer is dead.
Yes.
The profile is in the system.
Yes.
The same officer is supposed to sign
Yes.
for the money to come.
Yes.
So at what time does this change from the dead officer signing to someone else signing to benefit from that money?
So unless you are purporting you're the dead one, you cannot do that.
Because
And you see, there's no aspects of signing is in the master roll. So if somebody passed on, and that is why we are doing away with all those, manual things, because the clever ones will go and change. I can go and sign on behalf of Mr. Kitui.
yes,
Isn't I copy your signature?
yes,
And normally, auditing to know that this signature belongs to so and so can be a very tedious task. Yeah, it's not an easy thing. It even calls for a handwriting expert to disapprove that it is not my signature, it is yours.
Well,
so that's why we have to go digital.
Yes.
Digital is actually the way the entire government is going. Anybody we employ must be factored into the system so that all your activities, your earnings must be generated through the system, the HR system.
You see, we're coming to the end of the show.
Yes,
but
please.
then I'm just wondering,
Yes.
how do you verify that actually this, we have some counties with ghost workers numbering into thousands, maybe 3,000-4,000.
Yes.
And if it's a manipulation of the system
Yes.
to achieve that,
Correct.
1,000 employees, each one earning 100,000 shillings, that is millions every month going to the drain.
Yes.
Don't you think there should be, you need to outsource a private sector expert to clean that up?
Not necessarily, Bwana Kitui. In fact, what we are talking about goes on we carry out audits to determine whether the labor force we have is reflective of what we began with. At every stage, and we have even auditors, external auditors, who carry out these audits in case you have people who do not deserve to be on the payroll, and we come out with it. But as a board, we carry out regular audits because we can call for the what we call the payroll. We can demand to have the payroll to audit, compare with what we have sourced to see whether they tally. Then we have external auditors who also carry out that exercise to determine whether what, and you see, determining what we sourced begins with the County Public Service Board as the employer.
Yes.
So they come all the way comparing with what finally fits into the system. So those audits have helped do away with these fraudulent activities because some have been caught. It's not anything. That's why it exists. That's why it's there. That's why there's hue and cry. Like you said, in some counties, some organizations, this thing is very prevalent. But with the new innovative systems coming in place, like digital HR systems, this help eliminate those fraudulent activities that would be easily factored into systems or in manual payrolls when you employ and when you pay employees.
So the last question, the last question.
Yes, please.
There is the executive led by the governor.
Right.
Then there is the legislative led by the speaker.
Correct.
Then there is you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How do these two interests
Yes.
meet to meet satisfaction through your office? Because the two sections,
Yes.
the two arms of government in a county setting like Trans Nzoia,
Correct.
have interests.
Definitely.
You need to employ people.
Yes.
How do you meet them? Because I can still see your head is still on you. You
Yes.
cut it off.
Yes.
You need to work with them,
Yes.
and you need to work with the people they want,
Yes.
because the county assembly has requirements.
Correct.
The executive has requirements.
Exactly.
They need you to employ people for them.
Yes.
But then there is all that political influence.
Now, specifically for, it's a very good question, Bwana Kitui, and this is one of the areas that has brought us stress, but it's manageable. We manage, that is it. Matters of law you can't change. The assembly has its board, so employees of the assembly, other than elected members, they're employed by the board of the assembly. Then we deal with the mainstream executive employees.
Yes.
And there are no two ways about it. The law is very clear on matters recruitment. That is why the public service boards exist. Anything that you need to do about employment, the first stop is the public service board. Having determined your needs, your requirements at departmental level, at whatever level, all you do is you now come bring up what you need to the board. We have various roles, including advisory. So even when you need people that we feel you don't need, we'll advise the department you don't need these people.
Oh, so you also guide them?
Yes, we guide.
When they bring requests?
Yes, we look
and
at
then
them.
you guide them, you tell them it's necessary, it's not necessary.
Yes. Where they have provided an indent that has shortfalls, we'll tell them, now here you need this kind of people. The board is comprised of professionals.
Yes.
And therefore, when we have our secretariat team is of professionals. So together with the board, you sit down, you look at what the law says. That is what you actually, that's what you'll pursue. You cannot pursue an agenda that is outside the law. So these challenges you're talking of, executive, assembly, they have their interests. But it's a question of sensitization.
Okay.
Question of information insemination that lets all, whether executive, whether assembly, we're talking of MCAs, we're talking of officers within the executive, CECs, chief officers, and other senior officers. When it comes to recruitment, let the law take its course. We have an act of parliament that, like the County Governments Act, when you want to understand the responsibilities and the mandate of the board, from section 48 of the Act all the way to section 86 of the Act is all about matters employment, the Public Service Board. It provides for every step that you need to take, what you need to do, including those clever employees, how you're supposed to handle them.
Okay. It's a minute past 10 a.m. We have to come to an end. It's sweet and nice to listen to the soft-spoken ambassador who is not. And we have to come to an end. We look forward for an opportunity. I didn't ask him 3 crucial questions. One is, what are the numbers in Trans Nzoia? And 2 others which I'm not mentioning. I would like to invite him again to make time so that we can complete the conversation. We come back on Tuesday next week with a different conversation. I'll encourage you to keep us or to keep those feedback coming on X at WestV_Kenya, Facebook WestV, YouTube. Please leave a message there, WestV Live. Whenever you're on our social media, leave a comment, like, subscribe. We'll be very excited. You can follow me at Mr. Kitui on X. On Facebook is Kitui Okwasimiti. On behalf of my producer, Kelvin Kibet, this is CKS. See you next Tuesday.